I literally have watched no trailer from San Diego Comic-Con. We're just going to watch it.
No, I just want to talk about it. I hate the noise. Nope.
What's up, lovers? Welcome to the trailer reaction from Hyper Rapid Power Go. We're doing a trailer reaction for It Chapter 2, the final trailer. Now, before you say anything, I know we haven't done a trailer reaction in a few days. We had a bunch of technical glitches and technical issues at Comic-Con, so we didn't get a chance to do any trailers. I have not watched this yet. I literally have watched no trailer from San Diego Comic-Con, so I'm super excited to watch this finally, and I'm super excited to have Emily here to scare the living hell out of her.
No, I don't want this. No, I don't want to. I just wish.
We're just going to watch it.
No, I just want to talk about it.
Something happens to you when you leave this town. The farther away, the hazier it all gets. But me, I never left. I remember all of it.
That's horrifying.
Ew. Oh! I hate the noise. I hate it. I hate it. I hate the noise.
Losers.
We made an oath.
I swear. If it isn't dead, if it ever comes back,
Gosh, the casting is so good.
we'll come back to it.
You didn't stop it.
Pennywise.
The clown.
Nope.
Can't
No.
let it happen again.
No. 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 No.
Oh, Jesus.
Hello.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Is that supposed to be his son, or? That's
I hate it. I hate it.
horrendous.
I hate it.
7 years,
27 years.
I dreamt of you. I craved you.
Ugh.
I missed you.
We need to finish it. For good.
I've seen all of us die. It consumes us from the inside
Nope.
until we don't have a choice anymore.
You lied. And I died. You lied. And I died.
Oh my God. That looks. Experience it in IMAX. Oh Christ! That's all I need is that giant clown.
Like his tongue, and
Oh. IMAX and Dolby Cinema. Well, I will tell you, as a huge fan of IMAX, the nice advantage of IMAX is it's going to be so loud that the whole theater is going to rumble. The nice thing about Dolby Cinema is it'll be bright and clear and crispy and colorful and bloody, and it's going to scare the crap out of me. Are you excited to watch this with me?
No.
We did not see It Chapter 1 together.
No, but I did like it. I did.
It's very good.
It's really good, and I'm excited for this film. I think too in it, I was super freaked out at the beginning, but by about halfway through, I kind of started getting used to the jump scares. I was kind of like, okay,
Sure.
I know what to expect. Oh, this movie!
But I think the big difference between Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 is Chapter 1, the director and I think the creative team and the actors are very aware of, cool, we're going to do this with Chapter 1. We cannot necessarily repeat this with Chapter 2 because people will then sort of expect the scares and all that sort of stuff.
This one's going to be more psychological
This
and like
one looks
adult horror.
Yeah, this one looks a lot more psychological, more adult horror. The themes will probably play into the fact a lot more that they're adults. And on top of that, it looks like this movie has a lot more visual effects. And what I mean by that, it looks like there's a lot of opportunities for Pennywise to really twist the world in which these characters live in, creating like there's some stuff that looks very Doctor Strangey, where it looks like characters are being sucked through like all kinds of different things. And I think that's going to add a lot more visual flair to the movie, but I think it's going to allow the movie to do things that Chapter 1 couldn't do, whether it was for budgetary reasons or just because of what the story sort of calls for.
I think it's what the story sort of calls for, because I think in the first one it has to be like, okay, what's happening in this town? Who is this clown? And now they know what it is. They've already faced down against it once. And so now it's kind of like
taking it to the next
Endgame.
level.
So you know who Thanos is. So now it's gonna go full out.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot
compare it to another
I
sequel.
mean, a superhero movie of all things. But I think also a lot of people were surprised, like, oh, I thought this was going to be a trilogy. The original TV movie, I think, was broken up also into 2 parts, but they were 2 very long parts, or it was a 4-part miniseries.
I don't know.
I think if it's not in half, it's a 4-part miniseries.
This book is massive.
But the book is massive, and I guess if you've read the book, I have not. The 2-parter sort of makes sense because the book is also sort of split up in the same way, where it's the kids from Derry it's about
They're
the kids, and then it's 27 years later, and that's sort of the second part of the book. So I think splitting up into 2 and taking sort of like the most important, impactful parts of both halves of the book, and obviously some things were changed, but I think taking those most important parts and putting them into a movie, I think that is sort of a challenge, but I think based on Chapter 1, they did an incredible job, and I expect sort of the same thing from Chapter 2.
Also, damn, that casting.
The cast is amazing.
That cast is beautiful.
Also, for some reason, Jack Dylan Grazer, for Shazam and this, they've done a really good job of finding adult versions of him. Shazam, we had Adam Brody.
He's a very castable young. If he needs to find an adult version of himself, he's a very castable.
Yeah,
young
and this
boy
is
actor.
James Ransom, who was in oh my God, Generation Kill, which I loved him in. And obviously James McAvoy is in this. Jessica Chastain, who was probably maybe the only choice for Beverly. I remember when we did a casting video with Cameron, immediately Cameron and I were like, well, it has to be Jessica Chastain because this director has worked with her previously. And all the other casting.
Bill Hader.
Yeah, and exactly, like Bill Hader to me was unexpected, and there's other actors who are playing the adult versions who I'm not as familiar with as I am with Bill Hader, Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, but the casting in the first one was so good, and I'm excited to honestly even see the flashbacks because this movie will have callbacks and stuff with the younger actors, and I think that'll be really cool. What else? What else are you excited for other than to be terrified for 2.5 hours?
Do we have to go see it in the IMAX?
And in Dolby Cinema.
No! I mean...
And after we watch it, I'm going to dress up as a clown.
No! Why do you hurt me? Stop it. I hate this. I hate this so much. He does this a lot. But I think, too, speaking of that horrible clown noise, I think this film does a great job, with not only visual horror, but, audio horror. Yeah. I think... just because even in the beginning of it, you hear it so subtly in the background, but your ears are so attuned to, ooh, this is unsettling. Yeah,
I think Bill Skarsgård also did such an incredible job in the first movie. Even the small little
too good of a job.
Yeah, the small minor detail of pointing his lip out that he can actually do is so creepy, so terrifying, and it's such a subtle thing, but that one thing makes Pennywise
I bet
terrifying.
You $10 million, that's what he went into that casting, and he said, and he was like, I'm going to give you something. And they're like, okay. Or it was a self-tape, and he just did that face. Because you also said, too, he can do the thing with his eye. Yeah. And I'm sure he just did that. And if you're a casting director, if you see someone who has that, create that unique kind of horror, you take it. Stop it!
But I'm very excited about this movie.
It looks really good. I'm glad it's a final trainer. I'm glad it's the final trailer.
Because she wants to get the hell out of here and run.
Well, no. I don't want to see more because I also do want to be surprised by this movie. I don't want to see everything because now I'm going to be expecting this carnival scene and the flooding in the bathroom. And now we also are expecting the old woman tea scene. Oh my gosh, seeing that trailer. I mean, we've already seen that trailer in IMAX.
Doing a little dance across the hallway naked. But yeah, I agree. I loved the trailers for the first chapter. So far, I've loved both of these trailers, and if Chapter 1 is an indication of what to expect from Chapter 2, I think Chapter 2 will, again, 1, be incredibly good, 2, will do make incredible money at the box office, which Chapter 1 did so well, and we're so lucky that right now, when it comes to superheroes, certain science fiction, and now horror, there's so many filmmakers doing incredible work in those genres.
Do you think we're going to see any more Stephen King adaptations, or do we know if there's any
yeah.
more in the works?
I mean,
Because they
Dr. Sleep is coming out later
Dr.
this
Sleep.
year.
I mean, we had Pet Sematary.
Yeah, there's so much stuff.
So I feel like they've got.
And I think the difference between Stephen King stuff from like the 80s and 90s now, because a lot of his stuff is sort of, it does some of it does rely on visual effects. Dark Tower sort of being the one exception because I think it just didn't really figure out what it was trying to be. There's an opportunity for really good, talented horror directors to come in and put their stamp on stuff. So I think we're going to see a lot more adaptations of books that have already maybe been made into movies, or maybe things that have not been tapped into. But I'm excited for the fact that the first one was so good that I'm going into this just excited and looking forward to seeing
I am
more.
like you said, I'm not a huge horror fan,
Yeah.
but I am excited for this series because I did like the first one. Because the first one it's a good blend of horror and storytelling.
Yeah, and I think, you and I have been watching a lot of horror. Like I introduced you to the whole Halloween franchise.
Yes.
Because I'm a terrible human being.
The whole franchise.
But I feel like, you have done, for someone who doesn't like horror, you've done a really good job of just sitting there and being like, well, I'm accepting my fate of watching this horror movie.
I just don't like jump scares. I think
For
horror is a
sure.
unique storytelling device, and I think horror we get really interesting stories from. I'm just not a huge jump scares person. I do like kind of subtle psychological horror.
Did you feel like Chapter 1 had more jump scares or psychological? Because I feel like it had a pretty good blend.
It had a nice blend. Yeah, I'm thinking of moments where like you would see like pictures or you'd see something in the corner of your eye.
I think the creepiest thing for me was in the library where one of the
I was
characters,
just about to say the library.
And you see the librarian in the back just like, you can tell there's something really wrong with that shot.
I think jump scares like get me.
Yeah.
Like jump scares like I just get startled really easily in general. But then I think the background horror is just like there's a great video game called The Park where you're trapped in this amusement park at night that does a really, really good job of that too. And I had to play that on a stream one time, and that's how I know. But I'm excited for this film. I am looking forward to it.
Same. But guys, let us know in the comments what you thought about this final trailer for It Chapter 2. Did you love the first one? What are you looking forward to seeing in this one? What are some things that you hope they do adapt from the book and things that you think that they could leave on the cutting room floor? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe so you get notifications for all the latest trailer reactions that we do. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Nope.